Hello, hello. And in today, I will be talking all about being multi passionate and refusing to choose. So, if you are multi passionate and you have so many different ideas that flow to you all the time, but you don't know how to just navigate and you feel so overwhelmed because everybody's telling you to choose one, well, this video is just for you. Now, I also have my notes and I also have my co-star that is here. And I always promise that this November challenge, I am going to be consistent. So my co-star does not have camera etiquette. So every now and then, mommy may have to give him a snack so that he could be quiet and let me record my video. So please be patient with me for today, but we are going to make sure that we get this content done. Now, for years, I have been told that being multi-passionate was a problem. Have you ever saw that? Like every guru, every social media guru, every person told you, no, you have to niche down. This is not good. Do not come up with all of these creative ideas because you're not going to win. Well, you know what? I'm tired of that. I am kindly tired of that. And I am sure that you are tired of that as well, right? So when it comes to being multi-passionate, the number one thing is it is not a burden, but it is a blessing. Now, let me tell you a little bit about my story so that you can understand how all of this comes into play. Well, I grew up and with my family, my mom and my dad. My mom is a singer, and my dad was the person that really just made sure that everything was implemented. So when we went to church, the church did not have a choir. So my mom says, okay, I got three girls and one boy. I am going to form a choir. So ever since I was young, I was always singing. I recorded albums, all of that between the ages of even now. Like even now, I still sing and I do have videos that are on my page. So long story short, my mom said, my mom and my dad said, we're going to create a group and we're going to call this group the Bateman family. And ever since I could remember, I've always been on stage. I've always been doing things, right? So once I finished and transitioned into college, then I picked up my other hobby. However, when I was like between the ages as a teenager, I would play the drums in church and I would also sing in the group with the Bateman family. As I got to college, the thing that happened is my husband bought me my first camera. And when I got my first camera, I was like, oh my gosh, I am so excited that I have my camera. So I started taking pictures of the people around my college campus. So as I began to take pictures, I was also on the gospel choir in college, right? So I would take pictures, then I would sing on the gospel choir. So it was, I started to do weddings because people started to inquire, say, hey, can you take my pictures? I was like, yeah, sure. I would love to take your pictures. And then what happened was, I had a bride and she said, oh my gosh, I don't have anyone to sing the Lord's Prayer. Can you take pictures and be my singer as well? And I was like, okay. So what happened was I began to generate business not just because of the fact that I was a photographer, but also because I was a great singer as well. So I found myself singing and taking pictures at people's weddings. There are videos with me literally having a camera in my hand and also with a microphone. So I've done that business for years and years and years. And what I began to see is that I was operating as a multi-passionate person. Back then, I didn't know what I was doing, right? I was just like, yeah, I'll sing at your wedding and take the pictures, no problem at all. However, those things actually made me stood out as a photographer. So when it comes to realizing, and that's just a bit of my story. So after that, I realized that, hey, I like videography too. I love juicing. I love lifestyle things. So all of those things begin to be like a combination of what made me who I am today. So if any of this resonated with you, I want you to be like, girl, you know what? I hear you. So with that being said, I felt like I was using my gifts, using my talents, and using my abilities, and all of those things felt good to me because not only was I able to capture the pictures of my brides, but I was also able to do something that I really, really love. And I didn't want to neglect that talent of being a singer. So that brings me to my points that I do have for today, right? The thing about it is that I started to create more. I started to love to go to the weddings because not only am I showcasing one of my talents, but I'm also showcasing two of my talents. And when I used to finish singing the Lord's Prayer at the wedding, they were like, oh my gosh, girl, like you did that. So I'll actually share a clip of me doing that right here. I hope you enjoyed that clip. If you all want to see the full clip, I will be able to actually show it to you just a little bit later. So let's talk about being multi-passionate. And a lot of times people say, well, oh my gosh, you are scattered brain. That is not true. We are not scattered brain. We know that we have a purpose. We know that there are multiple things that we can do. However, no one actually talks about streamlining it so that it could be a strategic business. So you're not over the place. You don't have ADHD, because a lot of people like to say, oh my gosh, I'm all over the place, I must have ADHD. No, that's not the case. You just have so many gifts that God has allowed you to have over the course of time. And you really just got to learn how to just package it all so that you could thrive and grow into the person that you already are. So the thing about it is, that it's not really just about finding that balance, but it's also about knowing when to do the certain things, right? So, say for instance, and I'll share my story again with me as being a photographer. For me, I let photographer be my main thing, and then the singing part was an add on, right? So, if people needed me to be the singer, I could say, yeah, I'll be the singer, but photography was my main thing because I got $2,000, $3,000, whatever, from being a photographer. So in that season of my life, photography was my main gig, and then I reached for other things and kind of just added on. So what I didn't do was I did not add singing like as an additional package or as an additional thing. It was just something for me to do as an add-on. So think about how you could have that skill and then reach for your other skills and add it on as a bonus. And I'll actually have a program for that is coming up. All right. The next thing is that I want you to realize that God didn't give you all of your talents by accident. Like, you have every single thing in every single season for a reason. So never, ever, and I found myself doing this so much, I used to diminish who I am to make others feel comfortable. I used to diminish, like, oh, I used to be like, oh, me? Like, I really did. I never used to tell people all of me because I felt like if I did, I would be judged or something. Like, have you ever felt like that? Like, you don't want to tell people like all the stuff that you really could do, because if you really start telling people, they won't be able to handle you, right? And so I felt that way. And sometimes I still do feel that way. I guess that's like that imposter syndrome or something, where it's like you have all of these gifts, you have all of these talents, but you always just kind of just um stand off because everybody doesn't understand. And then that way, that brings judgment, that brings criticism. A lot of times that brings jealousy as well of people. As you say, girl, I could run circles around you with my eyes closed. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of times that brings that, like, we kind of just diminish, right? Have you felt like you just diminish yourself just for the sake of others? So what I really want you to do is have that mindset shift, right? I want you to not only just have yourself in the shadows anymore, but with that mindset shift, I want you to say to yourself, you know what? I am going to stand out. I am no longer going to diminish myself, my talents, my skills, and my abilities for the sake of other people. I want you to begin to say to yourself how you deserve to be happy, and you are not going to be fulfilled until you are doing what you're supposed to do. Like, I'll also tell you this with my story. I'm like, you know what? I started coming on here and talking about, you know what, y'all, I'm just going to start talking about hair. God's like, nope. No, no, ma'am. You are not just going to come on these people YouTube and just talk about hair. So I couldn't sleep at night. I was mixing up, tossing, turning. And now that I'm finally walking in my purpose, I feel so much better now because I'm not restricted. And that's what you may be feeling. Are you feeling like you're in a box? Are you feeling like you don't show up because everybody's telling you to stay within the box? But girl, I'm telling you to reach out. Reach out. I'm telling you to reach out. Reach out. It is so important for you to just reach out. Step out the box. Step out the box. Step out the box. You don't belong in nobody's box. You don't belong there. And I want you to think of it as like the world as your playground, right? And you just have different stations that you like to play in. Sometimes you play in the music station. Sometimes you play in the photography station. Sometimes you play in the content station. Sometimes you have all of these different stations. But what I want you to just dial into and ask yourself, what is your own channel, right? What is your own space? How could you operate in your expertise and share it with the world? Because you are not going to be satisfied until you begin to share your gifts, share your talents, share your abilities with the world. So I am Alicia Richard, and I do have my co-star. He did really, really good during this video, and I appreciate you for watching. If you are interested in more things about being multi-talented and multi-passionate and how you could really leverage all of these skills to actually grow your YouTube channel or your personal brand, make sure that you subscribe to the channel because I will be creating more content like this. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.